Aneeta Prem is the founder of the Freedom Charity, which was first contacted by one of the women and helped negotiate their release. Frank Field is the chair of the Modern Slavery Evidence Bill Review, and they're here now. Welcome to Newsnight. Aneeta, first of all, tell us how the women are.
They are very distressed about what's happened to them, but they're making steady progress, and I've spent a great deal of time with them now, and I think, you know, they're making as much progress as we can expect them to. It's been very, very difficult for them.
And one of the women managed to leave a message on your charity's 24-hour helpline.
Yes, they spoke to one of our professionals at the other end of the phone who realised the seriousness of the call. And then immediately we started very sensitive negotiations with the ladies about how we would manage to get them out and manage their escape.
What did she say in that first call?
The first call was actually saying that she had been held against her will, and said it could, you know, up over 30 years she'd been held. And then it was a drip by drip kind of process of her revealing information, and she just had one point of contact within the charity, and it was pre-arranged when she would call and how that was done. It was done very sensitively, and I'm really proud of Freedom Charity for the work they've done around this.
So the woman was able to use a mobile phone in the house or a landline?
She was able to use a phone, but that was done in a very secret way. It wasn't that the people in the house knew she had that phone.
And you made arrangements to contact them when the owners of the house were out?
It was done in a way so nobody would know they were on the phone, so that had to be done in that way. It was very secretive to ensure that they weren't put in any further danger at all.
And how, alongside the police, did you help these women escape?
Basically, it was a process of just over a week where there were lots of phone calls, and they gained the trust of the charity. And by doing that, they felt confident enough to reveal enough information, and obviously at this point we've contacted the police and they've got involved as well. So they were on standby, but actually it was a textbook rescue. They managed to walk out of the house.
When the owners were not there, clearly?
Yes, when nobody was around, they were managed to leave.
And you were waiting for them and the police were waiting for them?
Yes, absolutely. And then we managed to get them to a place of safety where they're safe and secure, and they're getting everything that they possibly need right now. But the long-term worry is how this obviously has affected them and what their futures withhold. Mm.
And they walked out with nothing, presumably?
Absolutely, they have absolutely nothing now, and as a charity we're trying to support them the best that we can. What
was that like when you first met them?
It was incredibly humbling, actually, and very emotional. They threw their arms around me and thanked me for the work that Freedom had done. And they met Aneeta Thornhill, who's part of a very big part of the charity, and she'd been doing the initial negotiations with them. And it was a very, very emotional time. I mean, when we actually got the message, I got the message they were actually outside the front door, the whole call centre erupted in cheers, and there were tears, and everyone was incredibly emotional to know that we had helped to rescue 3 ladies that had been held in such horrific conditions.
And can you tell us about those conditions? What had they said had been happening?
They basically told us they were held against their will, and the other details really, because obviously it's pending a trial potentially, so we're very careful on what we can say. But you know, in this day and age in London, you wouldn't expect this ever to be going on, but it does happen.
Well, Frank Field, let me bring you in on that point. Do you think this is part of the problem, we don't really understand what slavery is in this country?
No, we were talking earlier, weren't we, about 200 years ago, most people thought it was acceptable and slaves were in shackles. And the great campaign then was actually to change public opinion that it wasn't acceptable. Now, apart from those who deal in this evil trade, the rest of the country, I would think, be appalled by the existence of this.
Well, what do you understand domestic slavery to mean?
Well, I mean, it's not just domestic slavery. There's going to be slavery in the sex trade, in labouring, in crime, in fraud and so on, which is highly organised. Let's hope that this is not actually part of one of those organised crime rings.
And do you think this case emphasises the need for further legislation?
I think when you had a clip from Kevin Hyland earlier on. Now, he's made other statements to say what he's looking for in the bill, that it would be much easier to use, so that the process is not as dragged out as it is with the uncertainties that there often is at the moment. There's that angle, but there's another important angle. I mean, although it was 30 years imprisonment, this horrendous period of time, this occurred in London, where we have a dedicated group of policemen who are to fight and counter modern-day slavery. Now, they have spent quite a bit of time trying to build up contact and trust amongst non-government organisations like the Freedom Trust, which has been crucial. Now, in other parts of the country, there is not that trust. So there's both the importance of changing the law to make it more friendly to prosecution and more friendly to the victims of slavery, but there's also the job of, well, how do we change attitudes and policy that follows from that?
Aneeta, one of the women who you helped rescue is 30.
Yes.
Was she born in that house?
She spent all her life in captivity, basically.
She was born there?
We can't say if she was born there, but she has spent her whole life there, and there's nothing different. I mean, you know, this is the first time she's had the freedom of movement and being able to use a phone and experience some basic things in life that all of us take for granted.
Okay. Thank you both. Sorry, Frank, you wanted to
Can
say
I just,
quick final point.
Key point is that we began our evidence sessions with victims of slavery, and we will end with victims of slavery. And already they've made this very powerful case to have a commissioner whose job is to raise public awareness. Of course there's a need to change the law, of course there's a need to change how policy operates, but there is also a need for us to be more aware that amongst us, maybe not far from us, are people held in slavery.
Thank you very much, Frank Field, Aneeta Prem, thank you.